So in today's episode, we have Mr. Jayesh Ranjan Garu, Special Chief Secretary to Government of Telangana, handling departments of Information Technology, Electronics, Communications, and also the Department of Industries and Commerce. Sir, so usually, sir,
and sports
And
also.
and sports also
as I
now,
mentioned. Yeah.
right? So usually, sir, what people like me see on social media is ministers or chief ministers, they usually talk about the investments that are coming to our state or the kind of meetings that they've held with different companies or organizations. కానీ చాలా మందికి తెలియంది ఏంటంటే దెర్ ఇస్ అన్ ఎంటైర్ బాడీ ఆర్ అ వర్క్ ఫోర్స్ బిహైండ్ దట్ ఈవెంట్ టు టేక్ ప్లేస్ అండ్ ఐ బిలీవ్ అట్లీస్ట్ ఐఎమ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఒపీనియన్ దట్ అట్లీస్ట్ ఇన్ దీస్ particular departments, you are spearheading these workforces to maybe you're sending a delegation to these companies to pitch about Telangana or Hyderabad, and that is when these companies are coming to Hyderabad. So context lene walaki, sir, could you just give a bit of a background of what you do?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we run a very professional setup, which is called Invest Telangana. So what we do is that when Telangana became a new state 14 years ago, we identified what are the areas where we should focus our attention. See, Telangana, of course, is a new state, but it used to be a part of the earlier state of Andhra Pradesh. Hyderabad was there since, historically since 400 odd years. Over a period of time, we have gained some strengths. So, for example, pharma is a very strong strength for us. IT is a very strong strength. And then there are certain areas where, while we might not have focused our attention, but it is possible to do so. So, for example, textiles, just to share an example. Now, if you ask people about textiles in India, Telangana will not automatically come in their minds. Their answer will be, for example, Surat
Yeah.
or Tirupur, Coimbatore,
yes.
Salem or Ludhiana or somewhere else, for example. But certainly not Telangana. But the reality is that in our country, cotton, which is the fundamental raw material for all textile activities, we grow some of the finest quality cotton
In Telangana,
in
sir.
Telangana.
Right.
And in terms of quantity also, after Gujarat and Maharashtra, the third largest state producing cotton is us. So quantity is also reasonably high. Quality-wise, we are the best. Plus, if you go to Surat or Bhiwandi or Sholapur, in the textile mills there, you will find a large number of Telugu workers there. So raw material is here, workforce is here, but everything else in the middle is missing. Processing, industries, investment. So when Telangana became a new state, we identified which are the sectors where we can do well. Some sectors are those where we have been doing well traditionally. So we should maintain and continue that momentum. Life sciences, IT, defense and aerospace. Certain things where we haven't done really anything great, but potential to do well if you are focused, if your policies are right, is high. So food processing is one, textiles is one. Some where, while it is an important domain, no other state also has done anything very significant. So why don't we try? So we identified when Telangana became a new state in 2014, we identified 14 such sectors. So this professional setup that we have created, which is called Invest Telangana, is that for each of these sectors, we have taken people from the private sector. So let us say automotive sector. We decided that Telangana should compete with other states related to automotive. And then in the last few years, as you know, lots of electric mobility has become very prominent. So automotive and electric mobility. So we have selected one person who has worked in this domain in the private sector for about 7 to 8 years. So in all the 14 sectors, we have taken private sector professionals who have domain understanding, and we have designated them as directors. So I have about a dozen directors, and each director looks after a particular vertical, and he has created his own small team. Or some directors take help of consultancy firms. So this is the shape of Invest Telangana. So what these people do is that within their sector, so let us say electric vehicles. So if you meet our director automotive, he will, at any point in time, he will have on his fingertips which are the biggest electric vehicle companies in the country, who is doing what, which is planning a new factory, which is looking at some tie-ups and this and that. And he would also know who are the decision makers, who is the CEO of the company, who are the people. And through this kind of continuous monitoring and tracking, he will be alerting us. So let us say he might tell us that company XYZ is now looking at starting their second plant because the first plant is totally saturated, and let us reach out to them. So he will advise how to reach out. Should I meet them, or shall we get a mail sent from our minister, or shall we, if there is some industry event happening where all the automotive companies are participating, shall we go there, ask them for a 20 minutes time slot, make our pitch? So this is the kind of background work which happens. Each director does its background work, and then we follow the leads and they start the conversation. But at some appropriate stage, I get into the picture, because to give them, see, the investors are being approached by other states also, but to give them that sense of confidence that in this state we are really very keen, we'll be very, very welcoming, all help and support that you expect from the government will be provided. They would like a senior level person to kind of give them that assurance. And sometimes even my assurance will not possibly cut ice. So in which case we bring the minister in the picture. So after a series of these kind of interactions back and forth, and then to invest, they also ask for some favors from the state. For example, what incentives will you give, what kind of infrastructure? Some of the projects require dedicated substation or some X quantity of water supply and things like that. So is your state ready to meet our demands? So we have to give them that kind of assurance also. Sometimes they require it in writing in the form of a government order. So we do all these things all the time. At any point in time, if you meet any of my dozen directors, each of them will be handling some kind of potential investment deals or the other. And then we try to close as quickly as possible. So fortunately, in the last 10 years, the deal flow has been very, very good. We were able to get about $50 billion worth of investment, which for a new state is very kind of appreciable. After the change of government, after the new government has come in the government, the momentum has not stopped, because again, it is to the maturity of the chief minister. He has clearly told us that whatever you had done earlier, nothing should stop, nothing should slow down. We should actually try to outperform the previous government. So for a administrator, for a officer, these things are very motivating. If the chief minister is telling, see, normally we see, for example, the US elections have happened just now.
Right, sir.
And of course, the US president will take over only in January. But in all his meetings and campaigns and interviews, he has continuously mentioned that I'll close this instantly. Within 5 minutes of my taking office, I will cancel this program, I will do this. So I mean, that does not give you a sense of confidence. If everything which has been done, some of it may be, okay, fine, I agree that as a party, you have some ideologies, you will prefer certain ways of doing things vis-a-vis certain other ways. Things can change, but things which have worked well, where results have come, results are visible, what is the point in stopping it or opposing it just because there is a change of government? So fortunately, as I said, our chief minister has displayed that kind of a maturity, that whatever has worked well for the state, nothing should stop, but we should do much more than what the previous government has done. So even now, in the last 11 months have gone by since the new government has joined office, and the investment flow has continued.
Right, sir.
So that is how it happens. Lots of background work is done. And then eventually that shake hand moment, that announcement, that MOU, where we do it in some kind of a ceremony with some visibility, some publicity and all that.
So this framework that you just explained, sir, was this your brainchild, sir, that you formulated back in the day?
Yeah, kind of. So, there has been other models also. So, for example, what we have done here, which is called Invest Telangana, at the country level also, there is something which is called Invest India. And then there are certain other kind of state examples before us. But this model that we take private sector professionals, we give them total autonomy, we attach a small team to them. And these are, again, not very senior kind of people. These are people who are about 8 to 10 years of experience. So they're still very enthusiastic. They still have a career ahead. They see this as an opportunity to prove themselves. And my responsibility as the kind of a leader of that team is to give them that space that you can do whatever you want. You don't have to keep checking with me. So no one is keeping an eye on you. No one is policing you. There is no kind of requirement that you can't independently take any decision. You have to ask me or the minister for everything. You can do whatever is, in your opinion, required to be done. And we are there to support you, provide guidance. And at some level, when they feel that the investment is ripe, our interaction, my meetings, etc., will clinch the deal. So I ensure that all that is given top priority. So it has been a very satisfying kind of experience to put together this team and bring results in this manner.
Right.
So, like you mentioned, you said that you offer the directors or the entrepreneurs that Telangana is offering such an advantage over the other states. So, what do you think is the advantage that Telangana is offering in this investment scenario?
See, so the message at the end of it, which we try to convey to everyone, is that we are really keen to have your investment here. And we will help you in every which way that you expect to be helped. And you have to convey this message with lots of sincerity. So your track record starts building accordingly. The first investor, if he gets perfectly what he was promised, he starts spreading the good word. He starts telling about Telangana to others. Then the second one, the third one, the fifth one, the 10th one, the 20th one. If you show consistency, so this is something, I'll tell you a real example. About, I think it was 6 years ago, Amazon opened their biggest office. So you would have seen in Nanakram-Guda. There's a huge office of Amazon. This is their largest office anywhere in the world, for that matter. So the India head was present, Mr. Amit Agarwal, to do the ribbon cutting. And I remember, I think it was just before the ribbon cutting happened, some media people wanted to interview him. So he said something very, very interesting, and that is true also. He mentioned that as Amazon, we go to other states also, and every state is keen to get Amazon into their state. So we are treated very well. Everywhere we go, the red carpet is rolled before us. But I have seen in other states that the moment that state gets a sense that this investment is coming my way, that red carpet is taken away and it is rolled out for some next person. But he told that in Telangana, I have never seen anything like that. Till today, the investment was closed many months ago. We are doing the formal ribbon cutting today. But even now, and I'm confident even later, because some niggles, some small issues here and there will continue to happen. So that is the reputation that we really care about. We want to preserve it. We want to strengthen it, that at any point in time, we are available for you and nothing is off the table. It is not only in work-related approvals, permissions, some incentives, some orders or whatever. So let us say Amazon decides that some expatriate from the US will come and work in Hyderabad, let us say for 1 year. He comes with his family. His children require some school admission. I will help him with that as well. So nothing is off the table. I will not say, how will I help you with school admissions? You have to figure out which is the right school. You have to go through your own ways, but there's nothing like that. Whatever you bring on the table, I will have a response to it. And the other important thing which we have done, which is that give complete access to entrepreneurs, to companies, and try to resolve their issues at the earliest possible time. So at some point in time, our track record was that within 12 hours, we will not just acknowledge that you have raised some issue to me, we will try to give you a solution also in 12 hours. So that is the reputation that we build, that this is a government which is very accessible. People are there to help you. Everything is doable. There is nothing to which they will say no. Red carpet will always be there. So how sincerely you convey this message, because see, many other states at the end of it offer the same kind of things. So I can't say that this is very unique in Telangana, this is very special. Industries require land to set up their units. I also offer land. Tamil Nadu also offers land. Karnataka also offers land. They require trained people to run the unit. So we also provide, of course, some differences are there. In Telangana, we have created an institution which is called TASK,
Yes.
the Telangana Academy of Skills and Knowledge, through which we ensure that whatever is the skill set that you are expecting, and if that skill set is not commonly available in the market, meaning that colleges or ITIs or polytechnics don't teach that, so there is some deficiency of that skill, then through TASK we will create some programs, and by the time you are ready to start your commercial production, people will be given to you. These are some of the things. Of course, infrastructure now is good quality infrastructure is given in terms of power, water, etc. in most of the states, barring some few states here and there where they still are grappling with power shortages and all that. Most other states give good water supply, power supply, waste disposal facility, etc. So, so the differentiators are these. That and incentives also. Of course, financial incentives is something which all the companies expect. But here also, through a period of time, through looking at each other, states have more or less standardized what they offer. So it's not a big differentiator. No one is giving something over the top, which others are finding it difficult to match. So by and large, amongst all the serious states which compete for investments, where companies also prefer to go, at the end of it, the differentiator is how serious are you in helping them? Is it just lip service? Do you just say nice things just to look good? Or is there some sincerity which is seen in your face? So as I told you, when I interact with the investors at some stage in time, that is my biggest effort. And I feel very happy that I succeed more often than not in conveying that we really mean what we want to deliver to you. And I will personally take responsibility to ensure that everything that we are telling you will be delivered to you.
So, along with the ecosystem that the government is giving, you're packaging it. You're also giving them that relationship proactively,
Precisely.
and packaging it together, which is actually.
So this is the differentiator.
Yes.
And then, obviously, as all of us know, continuity is also important. So many times they feel that, see, they've seen in the government system, someone says something, but when you go there to receive it, he has moved on. Now there is a new person. You have to deal with a new person and you have to start afresh. So this is again a big pain point for the industry. Someone will offer something, but he's not there to follow up. So in my case, fortunately, since I'm there right from day one, I've been able to promise, I've been able to deliver, I've been able to see them making their second investment, their third investment, their fourth investment. So that is one advantage that we have here in Telangana. Continuity is there, so to say.
So like you said, sir, when there's government change, so there's reshuffling of bureaucrats that we see. And like you said, there's no policy continuity implementation. Yeah. So what are the challenges you would say, like in policy continuity, how to address that? Because
see, it is like this. So as I told you a while ago, our chief minister currently has that kind of a maturity that whatever good has happened, we need not close it down just because the government has changed. We'll continue it. Now, who implements it is also a matter of continuity. So in my case, I'm fortunate that, so what has happened is that in the last 10 years, I've also been, since I've involved in so many investment meetings and meetings of industry associations like the CII and FICCI, and also a very rich network is now attached to me. The Chief Minister feels that this is something which will be of value to the state, and it takes time to build this kind of network to be able to tell people that the current government is also serious. They are also equally welcoming of investments and all that. So he saw that while there could be reasons to change or demands to change, but there is a reason to continue also, and that reason is stronger than the reason to change. But the fact is that at some point in time, change has to come. I mean, I'm also going to end my tenure at some time. I'm also going to kind of move on. So how do you kind of find like-minded people? See, the subject that I'm dealing with is not rocket science. It is not that something some very deep research has to be done to understand the basics or the fundamentals of this line of administration. It can be picked very easily. But the mindset is more important than the kind of the subject domain expertise. How exactly do you come across? How do you give them that sense of confidence? How do you put your personal reputation at stake? So if at all I have to move on, the interest of the government will be served if someone with this kind of mindset is brought in, and thereafter continuity will be there. I mean, no two human beings will be alike. So I'm not saying that my successor will be exactly a carbon copy of mine, but if he has this mindset that the purpose of my responsibility is to help companies. The other important point to understand is that by and large, over the last 75 years, the way administration has been run in our country, be it industries, be it businesses, be it let us say IT companies, be it even startups, most of them now today feel that if the government stays away from us, that is the best thing that can happen to us. So that is the context. That is the bigger context, that the trust deficit with government is very, very high. So what kind of outlook do you show to ensure that you are all on the same page? You're not blocking them. You're not kind of pulling or putting some roadblocks on their path. You're sincerely interested in them doing something in your state, successfully contributing to the economy, creating jobs, bringing prosperity overall. So if that mindset is there, then continuity will be there. So I would imagine that is how kind of let us say, chief minister or people who make these decisions, they should look at things like for like changes.
Got it. Sir, because you're handling IT also, sir, and since you said, IT and pharmaceutical is our forte, what I want to understand is, sir, especially with the kind of companies that are setting up offices in Hyderabad, most of these IT jobs are around support. Most of them, like we have quite a few companies now coming and setting up offices to work on their research or development front. But ఇప్పుడు వరకు అయితే mostly support side ఉండేది, sir. And you've mentioned that you have a team wherein it's diversified to build a diversified economy. బట్ ఇప్పుడు ఈ కస్టమర్ సపోర్ట్ ఆర్ సపోర్ట్ రిలేటెడ్ రోల్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో, సార్, డూ యూ సీ it is sustainable in the long run, given that we have emerging technologies like automation or AI? Though the government is looking at diversifying the economy, but the people who are in these jobs, how do we make sure that they are also aware of this particular challenge that might come in at a different stage?
No, so the reality is that things have changed quite a lot.
Okay.
What you mentioned, that Hyderabad is seen more as a services destination, a support destination. This was true maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Okay.
But things have changed quite a lot. So let us say 20 years ago, I would imagine 90% of the workforce, IT workforce in Hyderabad, was doing the support and back end and services kind of functions. But I won't say that 90% of the people are still doing that kind of thing. I don't have precise numbers, but I won't put this number for people who are doing this back end and support and services kind of work to be more than 30% or at the most 40%. Majority of the people are doing other things. And for example, in the last, again, 6-7 years, we have seen something called the GCCs coming to India quite prominently. And we have become one of the important GCC destinations. Some of the biggest BFSI companies, media and entertainment companies, life sciences companies, automotive companies, and you name them, consumer goods companies, logistics companies, many of them, aviation company, hospitality companies, they have started their tech centers here. And if you go to any of the centers, you will find exactly this ratio that I spoke about. Just about 20-30% people will be doing this, their HR and payroll and compliance and support and customer ticketing and things like that. But majority of them actually will be creating solutions, products, improving their efficiency, creating better ways of operating. They'll be supporting their ops teams and things like that. So things have changed, and what you said is also true. This very emergence of artificial intelligence, in a way, puts lots of question marks on the basic services kind of things, which also in a way is a good thing, because AI and other such emerging technologies also add to the productivity of the company. So companies will be very, very fast and agile to adopt these kind of technologies. But at the same time, as I told, first of all, the proportion of people who are doing these kind of very low-end kind of tasks, that has come down drastically. And as everyone is aware that automation and usage of emerging technologies will impact it even more, people themselves will now be recognizing that this is not the career, or this is not the profile that they need to build. They need to learn newer things. They need to do courses on new generation technologies. If they are already working, what is called as upskilling. For example, let us say someone has been working for 8 years or 10 years now. When he or she was in college, maybe no course on AI was taught, because AI was not that kind of well known. But now he realizes that jobs are going to be affected, workflows are going to be dependent on AI. So how will he learn AI now? So what are the opportunities available? So as a government, of course, we feel responsible about all these things. Jobs should not be impacted. Jobs, the fundamental responsibility of the government is to create jobs, meet the aspirations of the people. So we are clear that upskilling, whatever is the support that the government should provide, that must happen. And the new pool of people who are joining the workforce, they must be well equipped with all these new generation technologies. So you'll be surprised to know, in Telangana, there are about 160 actually engineering colleges. In almost 80% of the engineering colleges today, they teach all these new generation technologies. In fact, I'll share something which is so exciting. Just a few days, not a few days, but a few months ago, I went to the City College. So City College is located in Old City. And it's an old college, but the neighborhood, the catchment is the Old City. I had gone there for some other function. There was some wildlife related event, and I was asked to go there to give some prizes and all that. But when the principal learned that I'm there in the campus, he came to meet me, and he told me that he has introduced undergrad courses in AI and ML and all that. And he told me that these are the most subscribed courses. Seats are overflowing. So it is such a nice thing that even in the context of, let us say, a city college or an old city, there is so much of keenness to be up to date with the advancements of technology, etc. So in Telangana, we are in a safe space, so to say. Students are willing to learn new generation technologies, aspire for better quality jobs. Companies also are now using Hyderabad more for particularly the GCCs that I spoke about, more for developing tools and solutions which are helpful for their operational efficiencies, etc. Little bit of back-end work happens, but I'm sure that also will come down drastically.
Right.
Also, sir, it's been observed that in rural areas, a lot of students are leaning towards B Pharma and doing pharma courses a lot. So, are we taking any steps in terms of providing any innovative initiatives like T-Hub for pharma?
Yeah, so there is a T-Hub kind of institution which will be launched in February, which is called B-Hub. It is for life sciences in general. It includes pharma, includes biotechnology, it includes medical devices, it includes what is called medtech, the confluence of technology and biology, etc. So B Hub is coming up in Genome Valley, but while that is coming up in February, already lots of innovation is happening in Hyderabad, in other centers also. T Hub also promotes little bit of life sciences related innovation, but there are 18 other centers in Hyderabad. For example, there's an institution called CCMB. There's an institution called IICT. All of them run innovation programs. So there are 18 such centers. Hyderabad Central University, HCU. And like that, there are 18 such institutions where life sciences focused research, innovation, these centers have now been put together in a network which is called OJAS, OJAS. And B Hub hopefully will take all this to the next level. So in pharma, this is again something very important because this is one sector also which is getting badly disrupted by innovation. So I'll again give you an example. When you drive around the knowledge city in Hyderabad, you must have seen a large glass building. That building is of Novartis. So Novartis is a very major, one of the leading pharma companies, Switzerland headquartered. Now, close to 9,000 people work in that building. Now, if I tell somewhere outside that Novartis has 9,000 people in Hyderabad, one question which is automatically asked is that which drugs do they manufacture in Hyderabad? But the answer is they manufacture nothing in Hyderabad. Those 9,000 people don't do any manufacturing. Those 9,000 people actually do lots of digital work related to Novartis. They're digital drug discoveries. Earlier, all these things used to be done in a lab. Now, all these things happen before a computer, through programs, through software. Management of their clinical trials, their bioinformatics, biostatistics. Novartis is also known to be a company which is driven by innovation. So they have actually a structured way of supporting innovation. They call it biome. So they have 4 biomes so far in other parts of the world. One possibly in Switzerland itself, one possibly in the US. One I know for sure is in Shanghai in China. So the newest biome has been set up here in Hyderabad in this office, which also promotes lots of innovation. So life sciences innovation is important. But the question that you are asking is, are we doing anything in the rural areas? I mean, the B Hub or all these 18 innovation centers that we spoke about, all those are in Hyderabad. Right. So we have not yet taken any concrete steps to promote this in rural colleges where B Pharma, etc. are taught. But it's a good point. I mean, I didn't think of it, but picking this clue from your question, it's a good thing to follow up, and I'll work on it. Thank you.
Also, this even regarding IT, we have a concentration of IT industry in Hyderabad itself, right? And the ICT policy also wants to work on the balanced regional development for tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So how far have we come along that? Because we have a lot of talent pool in cities like Warangal or Karimnagar where we have tier 2.
So again, the model that we have started in Telangana is considered to be a role model kind of a approach. So what we did was that, again, of course, we know that demand is to spread IT, decentralize IT, and complaint is that everything is in Hyderabad. And it also leads to possibly crowding and commute challenges, higher cost of real estate and things like that. So it makes sense if you decentralize it, etc. So when Telangana became a state in 2014, we spent the first 3-4 years chasing some of these big companies like the TCSs and Infosys and Wipro, trying to convince them to go to Warangal or go to some place. And of course, no one would say no, but we saw that nothing is happening. I mean, no one has shown any inclination to actually go there. Then we changed our strategy. We actually did something which now many other states are doing. So what we came across was that in the US, as you know, Indian diaspora is very huge in the US, and many of them are in this technology space. So we found that amongst the Indian diaspora, which is in the tech space, there are many people of Telugu origin. many from Telangana, possibly some from Andhra, but even those who are from Andhra have connects in Hyderabad because Andhra is yet to develop in that sense from a technology point of view. So we started interacting with those people. And the pitch before them was that, let us say you are a owner of a mid-size IT company in US. Let us say you have 100 seats in Dallas or New Jersey or somewhere. Why don't you give 20 seats, let us say a Karimnagar or a Khammam or a Mahbub Nagar or Nizamabad, wherever you are from. So you'll also have the satisfaction that it all began for me from, let us say, Mahbub Nagar or Nizamabad, and now I'm in the US, but I'm giving back. I'm creating jobs in my own town. So it'll be satisfying. So, I mean, this pitch appealed to them, but then they mentioned that we don't want to go through the hassle of finding where my office will be, who are the people who will come and work for me, and applying for an internet connection and ensuring that, see, as you know, in the IT sector, lots of women work. So ensuring the safety of those women for night shifts and this and that. So if government can help me with all these kind of things, I'll be very happy to provide 20 seats or 30 seats. So this is how our policy for the tier 2 and tier 3 towns emerged. So what we have done now is that at 8 locations, the government itself has built plug and play facility. In Warangal, Karimnagar, Khammam, Mahbub Nagar, Nizamabad, Siddipet, Nalgonda, like that, there are 8 places where we have built large facilities. In some places it is 150,000 square feet, somewhere it is 90,000 square feet. And these people, mostly of Indian origin, who are running their own companies in the US, they have taken some 40 seats somewhere, 30 seats somewhere, 20 seats somewhere. And the deal that we have given to them is that at least for the first few years, let us say 3 years, you don't need to pay any rent to us. It is rent free. And through task, I mentioned about this institution, we will help train the students in the nearby engineering colleges. Fortunately, today we have engineering colleges throughout the state. Whether it is in Karimnagar or Mahbub Nagar, there'll be about half a dozen engineering colleges. And we gave them this assurance that the students may not be as good as, let us say, an IIT student or a triple IT student, but we'll make up for it, whatever you require. And of course, technical knowledge is still good enough. It may not be IIT standard, but it is still very, very good in terms of the quality of curriculum and teaching which happens in Telangana. What is missing, if at all, is the finishing part. Like they may not be very good at communicating in English, what are called as soft skills. So we gave them this guarantee that we will bridge this gap. We will train them in soft skills. We will spend our own money. You don't have to pay us to run these training programs. The government will spend money. All these issues like internet and safety and connectivity and all those things, we'll take care. So now all these centers have come up. I won't say that they are uniformly successful. Some of them are very successful. Khammam, there is no space now. All the seats have been taken. Mahbub Nagar also is fast filling up. Nalgonda is filling up. But some others possibly are lagging behind. But this is the model which we want to push further also.
So, sir, you are a 1992 IAS officer. So, over the years in your career, you were involved with consulting with international agencies and tribal development, tourism, Huda, etc., right? So, I wanted to ask you on ground, what was the most challenging role that you thought was for you?
See, the first years obviously are challenging because you are totally raw. You have never been exposed to this kind of work. So most of the things that you do are instinctive. I mean, you learn a little bit. We do spend the first 1 year in our IAS academy, which is in Mussoorie. But again, that training also does not really give you, it's not a very practice-focused training. They teach you some law, they teach you some concepts, etc., which is good to know. But how exactly to deal with situations, how do you conduct yourself? So all these things you figure out by yourselves. So in the initial years, it is challenging. And then, so I'm obviously not from Andhra Pradesh or Telangana now. I'm from a different state. So even language, not knowing what the language is, and still trying to deliver, etc. All these things were challenging. So I would say that assignments are not particularly daunting. I mean, challenge is there. Even now, even though I've spent 10 years looking after the same subject, I would still say that there are still many things which I find challenging, which require lots of effort. See, if you are working for 10 years, the presumption is that lots of things go on an autopilot mode, but that is not true. There are nuances in everything. You have to think through everything properly. So I would put it this way only, that the first 2-3 years are challenging, and thereafter you understand how to work through things. So subjects are all whatever it is. See, the key point that I'm trying to tell you is that if you develop the skills on how to understand a situation, how to create a response, how to deliver that response, then whatever subject you are dealing with, that same SOP works. How do you create a situation? How do you understand a situation is very, very important. And it takes 2 years, 2 to 3 years to figure that out. And then, of course, through practice, it continues to improve. But I won't say that, for example, when I work in tribal development, that was the most complicated, or when I took over, let us say, Huda, that was very complicated. Levels of complications are by and large the same everywhere.
Also, sir, I understand that you are not into cultural policies anymore, but I wanted to ask, given the fact that Hyderabad has a significant Muslim population, uh, are we taking any steps towards not only uplifting them but also enriching their culture?
Yeah. So, as you said, I don't handle this subject in a direct way, but
Yes.
being in the government for so long, I do have some tangential kind of understanding. So, to answer your first part, the methods to uplift them. So, I gave you just now an example of the city college, and where there is
Yes,
so
sir.
much of enthusiasm about learning AI, ML, etc. So, this is one example. But again, if you look at let us say you spoke about Muslims. So, like any other group, Muslims is also not a homogeneous group. There are very matured, forward thinking, well educated kind of Muslims, and those who are still at the bottom of the pyramid, who's for generations have not got any formal education. They're doing some home based kind of activities. So, as a government, our interest is to intervene at all levels, to the extremes of highly enlightened, highly educated Muslims also, how to improve them further, to the ones who are still at the bottom of the pyramid, doing some small manufacturing in their homes itself with very minimal kind of skills. So, what I have done, I mean, in the work that I do, we have started partnering with some NGOs who do good community outreach and community mobilization amongst the Muslim population. And we have started some initiatives. So you may be familiar. We have an organization in the government which I only look after, which is called V Hub. It is meant to promote entrepreneurship amongst women. So we have created a project which is called Project Ujagar. And the whole idea is to identify women who are doing some very basic kind of home based activities, but understand what they do, how to add value to it, how to create better products, how to sell them better, what else can be done. So there is a capsule. I think it goes on for about 6 weeks or so. So it is implemented to batches and batches of Muslim women, and I've attended many of their graduation ceremonies or some opening ceremonies. And when I talk to them, I do understand that they come from very kind of bottom of the pyramid kind of background. They're not rich in any sense, or even better off or well-to-do in any sense. They're just at the bottom. But we have started this, and the initial results are very encouraging. So that is something which I would like to tell.
Got it. Sir, one question that I had was India's black market economy contributes to close to about 20% of the country's GDP. Given that there is enough presence of the black market, do governments usually take up any initiatives to foster growth or innovation to handle and come beyond this black market economy to basically to tackle that, sir?
See, it is like this. So I'll answer your question at two levels. So one is a very foundational or a very fundamental level, that why does the black market exist? So
Right,
obviously in the regular market scenario, there are some imperfections. The market is not perfect. Either you're not handling the demand side properly, or you are not handling the supply side properly. So let us take a very simple scenario. In olden days, of course, I don't know whether when I say olden days, you may not be even able to appreciate what I'm telling. But in earlier days, there used to be a black market for cinema tickets. Like
Right.
someone will go and buy all the
Yes.
cinema tickets. There are, let us say, 100 seats in a
We
cinema.
were
Some-
there, sir,
Black.
definitely.
Acha, so you have seen
Black
that. So people will buy all the 100 tickets. When you go to the theater, it is house full, meaning
Right.
no tickets are available, but someone is selling it outside. And
Yes, sir.
obviously, he's selling it at a higher cost. So there are obviously some imperfections. The market is not fully regulated. There are more number of people who want to watch a movie than the number of seats and things like that. So, as you know, one solution which was found, of course, policing and all that happens regularly, but it did not curb black marketing perfectly. Like I may catch one black marketeer, put him in a jail for 1 month, but someone else will replace him. So that was not the permanent, policing was not the permanent solution. But as you would know now online systems have been introduced.
Yes, sir.
Now you don't stand in a queue to buy a cinema ticket. We book our tickets on Book My Show or whatever else is there. So one is to understand why is the black marketing taking place? What are the imperfections in the system which is leading? Is there some demand side issues? Is there some supply side issues? And then how can you foundationally tackle that matter? So all these, one is, of course, to speak in a very macro way, that in the economy, there is a gray market, which refers to something which is very huge, very humongous. But if you disaggregate it, where is the black market happening? Is it in cinema tickets? Is it in some export and import of some commodities? Is it in some medical seats? Is it in some other kind of area? Then you can provide the micro level intervention. So the example which I gave, that government allowed online sales of tickets, but obviously some entrepreneur would have created this idea that maybe, I don't know whether Book My Show was the first one to do it or someone else did it, but whoever did it, an entrepreneur came up with this idea, an innovator came up with this idea, and the government had the sagacity to realize that the regulation should be changed. Otherwise, if you had told that no, tickets for generations have been sold only through a counter, and you have to queue up and take that thing, nothing would have changed. So government flows with the kind of the trends, the necessities, and entrepreneurs, innovators, the private sector provides those kind of solutions. So this is the combination through which things can work.
Right, sir. So we'll keep it for the second part, sir.
Yeah.
All right, firstly, thank you so much for making time for us, sir, in your busy schedule. We understand how busy you are. All right, coming to the first questions, considering your role as Sports Secretary of Telangana, how do you envision the future of sports infrastructure in Telangana?
See, when I was given this sports portfolio, this is a new edition, very recent, just about not even a month. And I had a couple of interactions with the CM. I was amazingly surprised. Of course, I had seen his mind when he had given me the responsibility to set up the Skills University. See, what has happened is that Olympics happened recently, and India obviously did not do very well. We did get some medals, but looking at the size of the country, the population, our performance has been called as underwhelming. There are many dozens of smaller countries which have population 1/10 of India, 1/20th of India, 1/30th of India, who have won far more medals. From Telangana also 10-12 athletes participated in different disciplines and no one got any medal. Of course, I'm not undermining their performance. They obviously tried hard, they worked hard. Sometimes it is a matter of bad luck. Our country had lots of fourth place finishes, so that won't be counted. But people made effort. But at the end of it, when you look at the medals tally, whether we won or not, but at least many others did far better. So Chief Minister noticed it. And this is something which is not just happening this year during Paris Olympics. Every time an Olympics happens, a multi-country event happens, and India's performance goes down, people start pointing fingers. They are not supporting. They are not doing this. Government is kind of not taking care of sports. All kinds of finger pointing happens. Accusations are made. People become defensive, and then everything is forgotten. It's back to square one. So Chief Minister feels that this is the right time to give a completely new thrust to the way sports is administered in Telangana. And one of the foremost, a very foundational principle which is there in his mind is that sports has never done well in India over the last 75 years. We may win some cricket World Cup here and there, but as a country, we are not seen as a sporting powerhouse the way, let us say, a China is seen or a Russia is seen, or even smaller countries like Korea, or Jamaica, or so many others are seen. So he feels that one of the reasons why we have not been doing well for the last 75 years is that sports is seen as just yet another government department. There are 30 government departments. Sports is one other government department. It has its conventional way that, okay, some budget will be sanctioned, some staff will be employed, and who are these staff? Are they sports-minded people? So his first foundational direction is that government should completely stay away from sports. Sports should be run by bringing together stakeholders. Number one, former sports persons who have a proven track record. I won't say that every former sports person has succeeded in delivering good administration. Some of them have also been falling short of what has been expected. They could have been great players, but they have not been great administrators. And some of them have actually ran into lots of controversies and all that. But there are some with good track record who have done exceptional work and so on and so forth. The other good thing which has happened in the last maybe a decade or so is that lots of corporates have come forward. They see that sports is something. One, of course, sports as a recreation, pastime, everyone follows some sports or the other. Many of us play also. But it is something which also gives them huge visibility, branding. If, let us say, if some athlete has been trained by a particular corporate and wins some medal somewhere, the corporate itself gets so much of visibility, branding, etc. And then they also are expected to spend money on social development. So this is something which is very concrete. So Chief Minister's feeling is that bring these kind of people to the forefront, bring the best corporates who are willing to support sports, bring former sports persons, bring professional academies. See, in sports also, lots of science has come. In fact, about a month ago, I had gone to Korea, along with the Chief Minister, of course, and we had gone to the Korean National Sports University, KNSU. And when we visited their campus, there is so much of science that they use. Every athlete who is participating in some program there, his body mechanics are monitored to the very precise thing. So, for example, I'm speaking and I'm breathing also. Now, how much of oxygen I'm drawing in my breathing? Is it optimum? Am I speaking very fast? Am I speaking very slow? Even these things, science can tell. So when you are running, how much of oxygen you are kind of consuming? What else is happening? Your posture, your speed, and I mean, there's so much of technology today in this world. So Chief Minister wants to bring all these people, the domain experts, the best corporates, the best sports persons. And his direction is that these people should run sports. The government's role should just be, if at all some infrastructure and all is required, some approvals are required, some permissions are required. And budget also, he feels that these people can bring. The government can do what is called as a gap funding.
So it's more like a public-private partnership model.
But more of private, and public's role will be very, very, very limited. So as you would see, in America, elections have happened. Donald Trump has won, and one of the key planks that he's mentioning is, as you know, Elon Musk is with him. So Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump, they have all mentioned that they will dismantle the bureaucracy. So not that they will sack everyone, but the figuratively it means that I'll completely take away government's tight control over so many things. So Chief Minister's interest is this only. And I'm very happy that it's a very reformative kind of thing. So I have been made the sports secretary, particularly to dismantle the sports department. Yeah. So of course, but it'll bring in lots of good things in its place. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, sounds very exciting, sir. Also, do we have any policies with respect to talent hunting, sir?
We'll do that. So all these corporates, all these academies, coaching, high performance technology, all these things, eventually you have to create a pipeline.
Yes, sir.
See, at our age, you can't suddenly say that I'll be a 100-meter champion or so. I mean, if you have that inclination to be a champion, it has to be identified when you are some 6
Right.
years old or 8 years old and all that. So all these stakeholders, one of their important responsibility to identify grassroots talent. So one thing which we are doing is, in fact, we are launching it within a matter of 10 days, on the 25th to be precise. We are launching what is called as the CM's Cup. So across 35 disciplines, we will conduct tournaments across the state. So there'll be mandal-wise competitions, district-wise competitions, state-wise competitions, and we are going to do this monitoring of every participant. Of course, we can't provide too much of biomechanics and all that, but at least his basic performance, timing, let us say football. So what did he do? Little bit of video recording. All these things will be maintained in a very scientific way, which will help us tomorrow to pick good talent. And obviously, not every talent can be brought to Hyderabad to the academy. So there'll be some regional system, but the very best, the cream of the cream, potentially people who can win medals, bring glory to Telangana, they will all be brought to a very high performance center of excellence here in the state.
So since you talked about like the government withdrawing and more private role also, so in general also we see that in administration there's like decreasing role of government, right? So there's lateral entries for joint secretary positions. So how do you think the government has to evolve with this, especially when there is equal demand from the youth to get into civil services and decreasing role of government? So where do you see the balance in these both?
So it is like this. So what you said is correct. When I mentioned sports, I told you that my whole purpose is to dismantle government's role in sports. Now, there are two other subjects that I'm working for the last 10 plus years. One is IT and one is industries. So in these also, there are certain areas where we have taken the best of private sector. In fact, people don't know this. And when I tell them, they feel really shocked that such a thing is happening. But the reality is that for the past 10 years, in the two portfolios that I look after, IT and industries, close to 450 people work with me who have all been taken from the private sector. So, for example, many of your viewers would be familiar with T-Hub. T-Hub is a very iconic incubation center now. T-Hub has maybe 80 odd people who work there. Not even one person is from the government. So this is another model. I mean, the institution is owned by the government. We spent money to build the T-Hub building that all of us see in Hyderabad. The budget has come from the government. Government has spent money. We have built it. But every piece of operations is run by people who have been taken from the private sector. But we have not handed over T-Hub to a private company. It is not that WeWorks or someone has taken over T-Hub and they run it. T-Hub is still run by the government, but no one is employed in a direct sense by the government. We have taken people from the contract on contract. We have created a board. The board is also predominantly non-government. There are 10 members in the board. 9 members are from outside the government. 3 members are from the 3 academic institutions who have some kind of alignment with T-Hub. For example, the Indian School of Business Dean is on the board. Triple IT Director is on the board. We have a very premier law school in Hyderabad called Nalsar. So Nalsar Vice Chancellor is on the board. 3 people from tech companies are on the board. 3 people from VCs are on the board. And I am the 10th member. So it's a very unusual thing. Normally, any government body, if you see their board, they'll have this minister, that secretary, this commissioner. It will be packed by government nominees. And just for namesake, 1 or 2 people from outside will be shown that, okay, it's a mix of outsiders, but the outsiders literally don't do anything. These 7, 8 government representatives dominate everything. So it's very rare for the government to create an institution where 9 people are outsiders and 1 of them is the government nominee. And on those rare occasions also, when it happens, government typically plays a trick, and the trick is that your person becomes the chairman of the board. They may be 9, but you are the chairman. So eventually it is my way or the highway. As a chairman, you can kind of bulldoze the board, but we have never done it. In fact, 10 years, it's getting close to 10 years. Not even on one day, I, as the government nominee, have been the chairman of this board. It has always been someone else from outside. So this is yet another model. The government has invested money. The organization belongs to the government. But the government has recognized that the talent to run those kind of organizations is not with the government. There could be some talent. See, when I'm saying these kind of things, I don't want to sound as if government has no talent also. There are talented people, but far more talented people are outside. We have to admit this. You may be talented, but there are more talented people outside to run these kind of things. So this is another model which has worked well. So it is not PPP in a direct sense. I mean, I have not handed over the T-Hub to, let us say, a WeWork or a JLL or a CBRE to run. We are running it as a government-owned company. But none of the people are traditionally from the government system. They have all come from outside. And every such institution that I have, dozens of such institutions, they have this model that the people who work there have come from outside. So as I said, 450 people have been recruited by us on a contract basis. So while they work with us, they are government employees on contract. They are not born employees. Like, for example, civil services group exams or Public Service Commission group exams are going on. One center is, I guess, just behind this this building. But these people who will be selected, they will be permanent government employees. So this is a in-between model. I have taken people on contract, but they are not government employees. They are talented people who have a particular kind of skill set which is needed to run that kind of an organization. But at the same time, in certain areas, government does need to play a role, which is also to be understood. So it's not so pronounced in Telangana, but in many parts of our country, we know that still abject poverty, there are a large number of people who are very poor and whose income levels are just at that sustenance level. And whenever there is some climate shock, like the rainfalls go down, etc., they migrate. In our city also, you would have seen migrants from, all over the country. I mean, not everywhere, but from a few pockets of the country, they come here. So if you sit with them and ask who they are, why have they come here, they will tell very, very horrible stories of how nothing is working back home. So obviously someone needs to do that kind of basic work also, basic assistance, sustenance, skilling them, improving their livelihoods. So government does have a role, but gradually as kind of days go by, months go by, years go by, my expectation is that government's role will become more of this enabler, facilitator. So I build a T-Hub, I give budget from the government, I create a board. I'm a part of the board, but I'm not dominating the board. And then I recruit people from the open market and give them complete autonomy to run that institution. So government has played a role. It's not to say that T-Hub came from the sky and it happened automatically. We played a role, but this is not the dominant role of the government. So everywhere, so in sports, when I say that government will withdraw, it doesn't mean that I'll have no role to play. I'll still have some role to play, but bigger role will be given to these kind of stakeholders. Even in, I spoke about poverty. Now, I have worked in this sector in the past. In the beginning of my career, most of my work was in this sector only, developmental sector, working with communities, working with the poorest of the poor. There also we noticed one thing. See, I told you that people are coming from pockets where abject poverty is there. But here also I noticed one thing, and I have seen it myself, that if you want to help the poorest of the poor, if you check with the poorest of the poor, what is the credibility of the government in their eyes? Suppose, let us say the three of you are poorest of the poor. I am the government. I want to help you. If I ask you, what is the credibility of me in your eyes? You will be very surprised. They will tell you that the credibility of the government is zero in their eyes. So there also there is an in-between model that as a government, if I'm sincere to help them, which we should, I mean, that is the least the government can do to help very poor people, the poorest of the poor people, improve their life. But because the credibility is so low, whatever I want to deliver to them should be done through an alternate mechanism. So in the beginning of my career, I was very fortunate to work in a project which was meant to support the poorest of the poor. And there what I did, exactly the way I'm recruiting people for T-Hub and for Invest Telangana and tomorrow for sports or for other institutions. This is something which we did way back almost 25 years ago, which was to recruit young boys and girls and ask them to live with the poorest of the poor, and then kind of create a vision in them and then give them financial support and so on and so forth. So as days go by, whatever sector is there, eventually this will become government's role, that you become a facilitator, enabler, an ecosystem builder, catalyzer, and not a direct doer or implementer, etc.
So just like how you said, how the government wants to nurture the sports thing, not like any other department, but in a completely different manner. That's something that you've already done with T-Hub, wherein you just spoke about it. You built an ecosystem that is enabling startups. So do you think the government can also do something for aspiring politicians who want to get into politics?
See, so it is like this. I'll give an example. It may not be the right example. Many people may differ from me. But I will give the example of Arvind Kejriwal or the Aam Aadmi Party. So despite whatever is happening, as we know, Mr. Kejriwal was in jail and some of his ministers were in jail. There are serious allegations. So if you keep all that aside, I mean, he may be guilty, he may have to be punished. I'm not getting into the merits of any of those things. So what is happening in the recent past should not cloud people's judgments or observations. Having said that, Aam Aadmi Party is an amazing phenomenon in our country. See, there was no political party called Aam Aadmi Party. I mean, unlike the other mainstream parties about whom we are hearing for last so many years, or regional parties which have come up on regional kind of agendas, Aam Aadmi Party just came up in Delhi, and its electoral record, particularly in the Delhi Assembly elections, is phenomenal. They have fought 2 elections. In the first election, BJP, which is their main opposition party, got 3 seats, and in the second elections, they got 7 seats, despite everyone, including the Prime Minister, trying their hardest to dislodge them. So many people think that something, I mean, he has kind of, there's too much of publicity, there is so much of, if you go to Delhi, there'll be so many Aam Aadmi Party's posters, achievements, and there's a belief that through this kind of overhyping achievements of the government, he's able to fool the people, win votes. But the reality is that for years altogether, even before something called the Aam Aadmi Party existed, Mr. Kejriwal and some of his other close people like Manish Sisodia and others, they were part of a social movement which is called Parivartan. Maybe it is not there anymore. Maybe it has stopped. But for more than a decade, and in Delhi, just as in Hyderabad, we call the these places where poor people live, we call them as bastis here in Hyderabad. In Delhi, they have a very strange name. They are called JJ Colony. So JJ stands for Jhuggi Jhopdi. So in olden days, in 70s and 80s, people from rural areas or wherever would just come, and Jhuggi and Jhopdi, I hope you understand what they mean. They are huts, they're thatched huts. So they will just put huts there. So commonly people will say that is a Jhuggi Jhopdi colony. So that is how this name became. But it doesn't sound good to say Jhuggi, like Jhopdi mein rehte ho. I can't, I mean, it's kind of demeaning and it's insulting also. So a word has been coined, which is JJ colony. So Parivartan did lots of work in this JJ colony. And obviously very poor people will live in Jhopdi. Who else will live in a Jhopdi? So for years together, they ran schools there, they ran clinics, they helped them with, typically these are the people who are exploited quite a lot by authorities on the ground. Some police person, so let us say I'm a vendor, police person every day will charge some 50 rupees from me, someone else will do. So they helped all that. So there is such a strong mark of respect on Kejriwal and Parivartan and Sisodia. And then when they became Aam Aadmi Party, this clientele remained with them. They continued to assist them with all kinds of help, which they were doing as Parivartan. So all that has helped them in kind of doing well in politics. So this is the best training. I mean, the best training of politics is to immerse yourself with communities. Whatever is the constituency in our country, whether it's a rural constituency, urban constituency, there will be vulnerable people, there will be poor people, there will be people who have unmet expectations or needs. And if you are able to do it in a very immersive kind of way, you will kind of rise and do well in politics. And otherwise, you have to rely on, like, some party adopts you, or your family members are in politics. You get into what is called as dynasty politics and all that. But if a new person has to make an entry, who has no political connection, who has no family kind of background, this is the only way to come up. And as I said, at least in Telangana, I gave you the example. And this, of course, the example of working the poorest of the poor was in the combined state of Andhra Pradesh, but in the south in general, and many other progressive states also, this space exists that if you're doing something for the community, for the poor, the government supports you typically.
Sir, so you're talking about immersing oneself in the social causes. So regarding that, in your personal capacity, you are involved with a lot of social organizations. So we wanted to ask you, what social cause do you resonate with the most?
So, two, three things. One, of course, is people who are facing very vulnerable kind of circumstances. So, this is my own personal belief also, that whatever is happening around us, the fact that I'm sitting with the three of you, you are interviewing me, is just a matter of having good blessings. I could have been the person who is selling something on the street. You saw someone selling something and on a cart. Maybe this instrument, that
Yes.
sound which we came, is possibly a street vendor. I could have very easily been him, but I am not him. I'm here, and today. I'm having this privilege that three of you are kind of spending time with me. But as I said, it could have been very easily he being here and I being there. So it's all very kind of, I don't have a very kind of a religious belief in God, etc. But there is some blessings. It could be your parents' blessings. It could be someone else's blessings. But this is how things have happened. So you have to return that. I mean, you have to kind of reciprocate. So my heart goes to people who are in very vulnerable positions. So, for example, people who live on the footpaths here, who are homeless, or lots of migrants come. They go to work, but their children are just left behind. So we call them as street children. They're running on the streets. And so many other people. They are so very, very poor people. Unfortunately, their children are born with some disease, which is very expensive to treat. And if you do not treat them, you will just lose a life. So anyone who is in a vulnerable position, I feel very kind of deeply empathetic, and whatever best I can do, raise funds or support charities or do whatever I can. So I'm involved in many social causes, charitable institutions. So coincidentally today only, I mean, it's a nice coincidence. We are sitting here, but in the morning I was flagging off a run. So this was a fundraiser run. So today is, not many people know this, but today is a day which is dedicated to premature babies. As you know, not every child is born on time, not every child is born healthy. For various reasons, medical reasons and all, many children are born what is called preterm. And some of them are very kind of very underweight, and it just their survival is a big miracle, so to say. And if it is in a poor family, sometimes it happens in rich families also, but then there are so many good hospitals where they get treated. But if it happens in a poor family, it's a hopeless kind of a situation. So today's run was meant to support, there's a foundation, it's called Let's Move Foundation, which organized this run. So even though I had a very late night yesterday, I was in a musical concert, I came back only around midnight, but I was up at 5:30, I went there, I flagged the run because I felt that it's a responsibility. I mean, this is the least I can do. So these are the causes which really kind of motivate me.
Right, sir. So I think we're good, sir. Thank you so much for coming again, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very
Nice,
nice.
nice talking to all
Yes.
of you.
Sir, I wanted to say one last thing. I was actually going through your Instagram feed and it was looking very cool, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
My Instagram is very different from typical Instagram.
Yes, sir,
I
which
only
is
post nice pictures,
Yes, sir.
which I have composed in some unusual kind of.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you also practice photography?
Yeah, so the myth which I'm trying to break, which is already broken, that you don't require. See, the biggest thing in photography is composition.
Yes, sir.
How do you compose the picture? Instruments and all that, they're also important. But even if you don't have any instruments, any expensive camera, but if you have the sense of how to compose a photograph, that is really amazing.
Right.
So I try my hand whenever it is
Right,
possible.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so
sir.
much, sir.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you, sir.
time.
Nice talking
Thank you
to
so
all.
much.